All right, so you might notice I'm set up a little differently today. I put my short end of my mat to a wall, so if that's possible for you, it will be useful. Otherwise, it'll be fine if you don't have that access to a wall with your home studio. But it will help kind of teach some of the poses today that we're going to do. So let's begin seated. We're going to take a little time with our seated position just so we can start to talk about some of these ideas of the back bend and our forward bends. So it's an odd day, so take your less preferred cross-legged position. And then spend a little time just moving the flesh out from underneath your sitting bones. Try to draw it back. Feel like you're actually spreading your sitting bones a little wider apart, which is an action that will benefit you in forward bends to keep comfort across the lower back when you have that spreading of the sitting bones. But we're going to take our hands kind of right behind the buttocks with the fingertips pointing toward the buttocks and try to squeeze your elbows in so they're only as wide as your shoulders. And sometimes when we do this, we can overdo it. We can kind of exploit the action. So we don't want to be pushing into the belly. We don't want to be hyperextending the lumbar. So keeping track of kind of length happening to the front and the back body. Also imagine the spreading across the sacrum. So that's our expansive term, the horizontal term we use in yoga. And with the elbows squeezing in, feel how it affects a broadness in the shoulders, shoulder blades. There's a broadness kind of in the girth of the shoulders, and then adjust the skull so that you feel the skull come right above the spine, and the chin is tilted not down or up, it's level with the floor. And then try to maintain as much of that action of using the back body to support the front body and the chest as you join the hands in front of the heart. Closing the eyes and just softly looking away from your brain. And we're going to just kind of envision something here. I call it the U-turn. So we want to think a lot about length to the sides of the trunk today and evenness, especially in our asymmetrical forward bends. So imagine that you have this kind of upward moving line or little elevator, not elevator, just like a little upward moving line from your hips to your armpits. And then at the armpits, there's your U-turn, and you're just going to feel or sense some weight to the arms, the inner upper arms descending. And sometimes when I'm envisioning this, I just kind of think about the in-breath encouraging the upward track from the hips to the armpits, and then the out-breath, just kind of visualizing that downward track to the inner upper arms. Still keeping track of the broadness of the lower back. Still keeping track of the evenness to the sides of the trunk. And hopefully still feeling in the arms what you started with the fingertips right behind the buttocks. So still feeling the shoulders externally rotated, the chest sitting forward, broadness of the shoulder girdle. Just a few moments here, just getting a little quieter with yourself. Joining your chin to your chest if you can. Letting your hands release down. And on an in-breath, raise your head. Let your eyes gently open. And when we open the eyes, just kind of feeling some of that quietness still lingering. Welcome. So we're going to start our class with some reclining work. So this is where the wall is useful if you have access to a wall. Otherwise, just know about it. So when you are practicing elsewhere or on your own and you want to set that up, it's a great way to inform the legs. in the actions of these forward bends. We're going to start in reclining mountain pose, and we're going to be using a block to support the thoracic spine, which is really where we're going to be finding that back bend today in our forward bend. So I have two versions of blocks at my house. I have these 3-inch and the 4-inch. So ideally it's the lesser one. Whatever you've got, that's what you're working with. But when you're working with the wall, I'm just going to show you this. You start with your knees bent, your feet at the wall, and when you start to extend and recline, it drags the flesh of the buttocks toward the wall away from the torso. So it's helping us pull that flesh of the buttocks from the upper buttock to the lower buttock, which is the action we really want to work with in not only the reclining standing poses, but we want to work with them also in the standing poses. So if you have the wall, you do. If you don't, you don't. Support your head, because now that you have raised the thoracic, you're going to need a little more height under your head. So if you do have the access to the wall and you're using it, you want to make sure you found good contact through the feet, especially your heels. So if anything, the heels are touching the wall and the toes are not. They don't have to be, they can be, but we really want to get the heels engaging into the wall. And if you don't have a wall, just imagine you do. You're going to use your imagination as if you're pushing your heels into the wall. And just start with your arms at your sides, down near your legs, your palms facing your thighs, and let the shoulders start to yield to gravity, start to open the chest in a natural way here without a lot of effort, so we have gravity. Keep your chin tilted toward your chest and just supercharge your legs. So you're trying to fully extend the legs, which means you don't have any bend in your knees. You're trying to minimize the gaps behind the knees. Same with the ankles, the Achilles tendons. You're trying to just seal to the floor there. You're pressing out through the heels. Your feet are even, so you're not sickling the feet at all. You have evenness to the inner and outer ball mounds, which if you have the wall, you'll be able to feel that. And then you're going to raise your arms overhead. Keep the arms straight. Really extending the elbows fully. You're now resting closer to the index side of the hand. You might be touching the floor, you might not be. Keep your chin angled down. And just breathe into the kind of the pressure of the shoulder blades, especially the inner shoulder blades, pushing gently toward the chest to help bring the sternum forward, to help broaden the chest. Still keeping track of your legs, really charging the legs the whole time. Good. Now go ahead and start to relax the arm effort, start to step your feet to the floor, and you're going to roll to either side to help yourself come off of that block. And now you're going to be working with the strap. So find a strap. And we'll work with our two first hand to big toe poses. So the one directly head on, and then the one we move sideways. We'll start with the right leg. So we're going to draw the right leg in, and you're going to take hold of right below the ball mounds of the right foot. And you want to just start here with the knee fully bent and squeezing the thigh toward your body. But envision your sacrum. So what we don't want to do is distort the hips. We want to keep our hips level. So at the same time, you're pulling your thigh toward your chest, but you're really pushing your foot into your strap. So there's resistance there. You should feel the outer right hip kind of leaving the space of the torso, moving away from the torso. Still pressing your left heel into the wall or the imaginary wall, still supercharging the left leg. So we're going to go deep into Padangusthasana today, but again, just with the half forward bend version. But you'll feel a lot more in your legs, hopefully. So start to extend the leg. You're gonna try to keep the thigh close, even though it will probably come away from the chest a little bit, and you're gonna find your straight leg. And so today I'm working with my hands pretty close to my foot because we're looking for a lot of depth here. We wanna really get full extension of the leg. We wanna feel a lot of depth of the lengthening of the leg. So go ahead and find your straight leg. Reach up through the heel, fully extend that leg. And you wanna think about your inner right knee rolling away from your chest. Think about your inner right thigh rolling away from your chest. Remember the idea of broadening the sitting bones. So rolling the inner right thigh away from the chest will help you roll that sitting bone off to the right a little bit further, a little wider. Okay, so make sure you've wrapped your hands because you're going to conserve energy that way. I want you to start to grow the elbows wider and bend the elbows. Keep your legs straight, but you're just going to bring that leg any amount closer to the trunk without bending the leg and without the hip hiking up. We don't want that hip to hike up. So keep rolling the outer right hip away from your trunk. Keep the leg fully extended. You have broad elbows, keeping your chest smiling or grinning. 3 breaths. Any amount more, you can bring the leg closer. Reach up through the heel, reach up through that inner right ball mound of the big toe so that you don't sickle your foot. Wonderful. Now go ahead and start to bend the knee. Hug that leg in again. So you're just kind of starting where you began. You're coming back to where you began. And then you're going to release the strap and extend the leg. And if you're back to the wall, you're going to feel the right foot is heavier into the wall because you've essentially grown the leg. Okay, so make sure you're starting these poses with your legs joined. So make sure legs and feet are joined. Good. Before we move to left side, imagine your inner thighs rolling toward the floor and then spreading outward across the backs of your thighs. Keeping the broadness of the sitting bones. Now we'll go to left side, same thing. We're going to start with the arms straight before we bend elbows. We're going to start by hugging the thigh in nice and close. And right away we notice that left hip bunches up. We lose the evenness to the torso, which is something we're trying to maintain when the hip bunches up. So as you pressurize your foot into the strap, really invite the outer right hip to roll away from the torso. Charge your right leg. It's fully pressing into the floor. You're especially paying attention to reaching out through the heel. A few more breaths here. And then as you extend the left leg, you're attempting to keep the thigh as close as you can, but you might have to lose some of that so that you can find your straightest leg. So it's kind of a finessing those two things. So starting here, don't bend the elbows yet. You're just going to breathe into your straightening leg. When you reach up through the heel, your body might be trying to avoid that because it takes you into a deeper sensation zone. But reach up through the heel, supercharge your right heel, squeeze the right knee toward the floor. Remember to roll the inner right knee down and the inner left knee away from your trunk. Breathe. And now start to widen the elbows, keep your legs straight, and invite the leg any amount closer to your torso. When we widen the elbows, we can try to maintain that beautiful back bend in the thoracic spine. That keeps us in the half forward fold position, and it keeps us very spacious and even to the trunk. Couple more breaths. Hang in there. And now re-invite a bend to your knees. Start to bring your heel toward your buttock. Hold it there for a couple breaths. Roll that outer right, left hip away from your torso, away from your shoulder line. And then go ahead and take the strap away and extend the leg and join the legs and feet again. So we're going to bring a little resistance into the action. We are rolling the inner thighs towards the floor as we talked about. You can follow that kind of circular rotation and you'll feel a spreading outward to the backs of your thighs. But what we don't want to do is just kind of ooze there. So you're going to squeeze your hip bones toward each other. So you're containing that action a little bit. And if that didn't make sense, that's okay. It's a little bit higher level, but we have this inner thigh descending, the backs of the thighs broadening, but then don't let it just continue out to the sides, kind of clamp your hips toward each other. We have very kind of effortful legs in the forward bends, okay? So now we're going to be moving the right leg to the side. And if you know that you might need support, you can place a block or a blanket to your outer right hip so that you have a little bit of a cradle, that we don't want to just momentum carries us to the right. We want to keep our sacrum level. So if you know you might have an issue with that, or you're tight, or you usually need it, you can place it there. You can always lose it if you don't need it. And we're going to start the same way. So we're going to hug the right leg in first, once you have your support, if you need that. So take hold right below the ball mounds. Again, you're starting a little closer to your strap. We'll start with the straight arms again. So you can wrap your knuckles, squeeze the thigh close to your chest, but then resist by rolling the outer right hip away from your torso, re-lengthening the right torso side. Supercharge the left heel, straighten the left leg fully, and go ahead and take the right leg up again. And we're here again. So you're revisiting, reach up through the heel. You probably have a little more access this time. We've been here once already. Keep track of your left leg. And now right hand will take both straps. You might wrap both of those straps around your right knuckles. Reach your left arm sideways. Make sure you're working with your straightest leg, and then start to move the leg out to the side. So think about your right inner thigh. Where is it needing to go? We want to roll the right inner thigh toward the back of the thigh, but then you're going to contain that action a little bit by squeezing your right hip bone back toward midline. And then any amount more, you're bringing your foot closer to your shoulder line. And of course, you know that you have to resist your torso and rotate the flesh of the trunk back to the left to keep some evenness. So imagine if you were to look at the impression of your sacrum right now, would you just see the right side is indented and the left side is not? We don't want that. So prop if you need to, or bring your leg back enough that you have that even sacrum. Imagine the sides of your trunk here. Are they even? So roll that bunching outer right hip away from your shoulder line. So that's the containment of the hip. Couple more breaths, rolling your right inner knee away from your torso. Good. And now slowly bring the leg back. Good work. And then we're going to separate the strap and squeeze that leg in again. Squeeze the leg in again. And then remove your strap and extend your leg, joining the legs and feet, supercharging both legs. Bring your outer upper arms down, lift your shoulder blades into your chest. So you have the spreading of the chest, you have the extended thoracic spine. So the posterior spine moves towards the anterior spine. Back spine moves towards the front spine. And then if you need propping, or you anticipate you need propping, you'll take something to your outer left hip. And we'll take hold of the bottom of the left foot right under the ball mounds. And you're going to start with just squeezing that thigh close to your torso, rolling that outer left hip away from the shoulder line as you keep good pressure of your foot into your strap. Pressurize the right leg against the floor and the right heel out away from the hip. And then extend the leg up. Find your straight leg. Reach up through the heel, and might mean you have to back off with the leg. So wherever those two actions meet, of straight leg and a supercharging heel, that's where you are. Reach up through the outer edge of your big toe ball mound where we tend to get a little bit dull. And then you're going to pass your straps to your left hand. You might want to wrap those straps so you can conserve a little energy. Reach your arm sideways, right arm sideways. Okay, so keep your left inner thigh rolling down and through the back of the thigh, that action as you start to carry your leg to the side. You're resisting by rolling the flesh of the trunk from left to right. Reach out through that left big toe ball mound. Reach out through your heel. And with broad backs of your thighs, contain the hips, squeeze the hips together. Try to envision that your torso sides are evenly long. And you still have a very broad chest. So your shoulders are down, your shoulder blades, the scapula are curling in toward the chest, the inner scapula toward the chest. Take that foot any amount closer to your shoulder line without bending your knee. 3 more breaths. Envisioning your sacrum. Keep the pressure against the floor even across the sacrum. So bringing weight back to right side if you need to. Beautiful. And now start to carry the leg back to center. You can split your strap again and hug the leg toward the body as you roll the outer left hip away from the shoulder line. And then you can remove the strap, extend the leg, join the legs and feet, strap it off to the side. So you're done with that strap. Rest on the backs of your hands. And as you press the forearms and hands into the floor, lift your shoulder blades up to your chest and allow the outer upper arms to descend. Tilt your chin toward your chest. And really still working with the legs here, minimizing the gapping behind the knees and ankles, rolling the inner knees toward the floor and containing the outer knees toward midline. So it's the same action. The knees and the inner thighs are doing the same thing. The inner thighs are rolling down, the inner knees are rolling down. The outer knees are containing in and the outer hips are containing in. Couple breaths. Okay, now we're going to start to move into some other work. So we're going to roll to our side. And we're going to take downward facing dog. Adho Mukha Svanasana. So start from child's pose, just so we can tap into the action we want to really maintain in the arms and the upper back. So we want to keep the thoracic spine in extension in our downward dog, which means that back of the spine moves towards the front of the spine, essentially. Right between the shoulder blades, we call this the dorsal spine. So your knees are wide, your feet are closed together, and your arms are extended fully. And your head, you can hover your head, you don't have to place the forehead. But keeping everything but your hands off the floor. So no wrists, no forearms. So you want to supercharge your arms here. Roll your inner wrist down and then complement bringing the inner upper arms up. So we have contrasting rotation in the arms. The inner wrists roll down and then the inner upper arms lift up. And every exhale, you're just sinking your shoulder blades toward your chest. Keeping the sides of the torso really even. We want to have these same actions in our arms when we come into a more load-bearing pose of downward dog. So we're just imprinting here with a little more quietness. On your in-breath, come into your hands and knees table position. And we want to have a little bit more spacing here today. So your knees can be right under your hips, but your arms will be at an angle, so not directly with the wrists under the shoulders. So you're just a bigger dog today. And also take your knees just a little wider so that we can invite that broadness to the lower back. Okay, so your knees aren't all the way to the edges, they're just slightly wider than your hips. Your middle fingers are the forward pointing fingers. You're going to bring extra weight to your thumbs and index, but you're going to then roll the inner elbows to shine outward. So we're finding those actions in the arms now that we're here. Curl the toes underneath, and on an exhale, begin to extend your legs. But don't worry about your legs or your lower half just yet. Start to move your shoulder blades toward your chest. Good, Judy, that looks good. You're still featured, by the way, Judy, but I think it's just on my end, so you don't have to worry. But I have a big Judy on my screen. So keep sinking the shoulder blades toward the chest. Keep supercharging your arms and finding those rotations in the arms. Your pelvic tilt is strongly tilting forward. And now roll the inner knees back and contain the outer knees toward midline. Roll your inner thighs back and contain the outer hips toward midline. Let your head just be existing right between the arms, maybe starting to pass through the space of the arms, but relax the neck. Three more breaths if you've got it. Otherwise, you're going to walk into a kind of a ragdoll position. Start to creep the feet toward the wrists. And when your feet arrive in line with your hips, you can take a softer knee if you need to. Grab your elbows in your hands and just dangle. And as you start to straighten your legs, that upward line is a wave that continues to wave over the torso and down the skull. But just let the legs feed a deeper descent of the trunk, a deeper descent of the skull. Let the arms grow heavier to encourage that descent. Yes, good. Keep working with your legs. Roll the inner knees back, contain the outer knees in. Roll the inner thighs back, keep your sitting bones spreading so your low back is happy. Go to your deepest, straightest leg. Pull those elbows toward the floor. Encourage it, coax it. Drop your hands, bend your knees, and come up. And join your legs and feet, and we'll just come into mountain pose. So I have my camera really close, but hopefully I'm not decapitated here. Come into your mountain pose and remember yourself lying on the floor. Imagine the floor is right behind you, your whole back plane of your body, the floor. So bring your shoulders to the floor, we'll call it. And make sure that the knees are spreading, they're widening, they're yawning open, the backs of the knees are. Roll the inner knees back, the inner thighs back. Remember the U-turn from the hip crest to the armpits. Lift there. And then there's a change of energy, an exchange right at the armpit. And now we have a descending inner upper arm. And maybe kind of imagining the in-breath is the upward moving line along the outer trunk. And the out-breath encourages the arms to become heavier. Remember the wall or the imaginary wall, really anchor the heels into the floor. Anchor into your heels without rolling your weight back. So you want to keep your front feet weighted. You want to keep your ball mounds weighted and your toes weighted, but you're giving extra effort to the heels descending into the floor. Remember when you were sitting in the very start of class with your fingertips right behind your buttocks? We want to feel the same lift and spread of the chest, but make sure you're not distorting that or exploiting that. Make sure you're not pushing the abdomen forward and collapsing the low back. So lengthen the front body and the back body. Good. Beautiful. Now open your eyes and release the effort of the legs. We're going to do one standing pose today, which is Tanasana. So if you feel a little tight today, you might improvise with a chair instead of your blocks. And we'll just put the blocks to one short end of the mat. Okay. And then we'll be stepping our right foot forward and our left foot back. facing those blocks. So remember when we were sitting in class, you're going to grab your hips the same way. I want you to take your fingertips up your back. So your fingertips are up your back. Yep, that's right. And the heels of the hands are trying to press towards the buttocks or the lower back. And you're going to squeeze the elbows in. Good. And you're just kind of becoming very aware of the length and evenness to the sides of the trunk. Also rolling that left hip forward, right hip back, so your hips are on the same frontal plane. Fully extend your left leg, that's important. Roll the inner left knee back and squeeze the outer left knee toward midline. Then raise your arms. Reach up through the arms. Hopefully your arms are moving back behind your ears or in that direction. Think about the inner scapula rotating toward the front body. Think about the dorsal spine moving from the back of the spine to the front of the spine. Look slightly up, come to the top of an in-breath, and then lengthen forward. You're aligning your trunk with your right leg. Blocks are going to be right directly to the inner and outer foot. And we're taking the half position today. So go back to your legs, roll the inner thighs back, squeeze the outer hips in, roll your inner wrists back, but then towards the upper arms, the inner upper arms forward, look forward. Okay, do you feel bunched up in your right hip? Cut that outer right hip back, just like you did in the reclining hand to big toe pose. Any amount more, we're still going to keep concave or flat lumbar, but now you're going to let the elbows broaden with bending them out sideways, and you're going to take your chest any amount more toward your right leg. So you're still looking forward, heads don't get to relax down. You're still working with your straightest leg. Roll that inner right knee back. Don't let it rotate forward. It wants to. Cut it back. Good. Stamp down your left heel. Stamp it down. Inhale, come up to straight arms. And then you can raise the arms, come all the way up. Release your arms down and step your feet together. And right where you're standing, collect yourself in Tadasana. Put yourself in alignment as if you're lying down on the floor. Supercharge your legs. Really extra effort in the heels. Neutral pelvic tilt. Roll the inner thighs away from the front body. Let it spread across, expansively across the line of the thighs right under the buttocks. But then don't let it keep spreading. Squeeze your hip bones together. And now left side, Pashimo Tanasana. So chair or blocks are ready to go. Left foot forward, right foot back. Your fingertips above the heels of the hands, somewhere on your back. Squeeze the elbows together, coil the shoulder blades in. Really straighten your right leg, even though a lot of times it wants to just be a little more passive. You want to really be intentional with it, straighten it. Roll the inner right knee back. Roll the inner right thigh back. Okay, make sure the tailbone is moving into the front body because this pose starts in a back bend. So that's our posterior back bending pelvic tilt. We start there. And then you're going to change the pelvic tilt, but keep the thoracic spine extended. Lengthen forward. Oh, I forgot to have us raise our arms. Sorry. Raise the arms. Tip the pelvis forward now. Lead with your sternum and take your hands onto your blocks. Either side, both sides of the foot, inner and outer. Aligning your trunk with the left leg. Look forward. Roll your inner wrist back toward your body, but then bring the outer upper arms in away from the body. Turning the inner shoulder blades toward the chest. Keep stepping down your right heel, rolling the inner left knee back, rolling that both inner thighs back, feeling or sensing or envisioning the evenness of the sides of the trunk. Come to the top of an in-breath and then exhale without the legs changing. Widen your elbows, lead with your sternum, keep looking forward, take it to your deepest. You might only have moved an inch, that's okay. One more big exhale. And then you'll inhale back to your straight arms. And you can come up, if you're able to support it, by inhaling, freeing the arms all the way up. Otherwise, find a way to transition back to upright. And then release the arms down and step yourself into Tadasana. So if the shoulders are in the right position, the thumbs should be existing to the centers of the outer hips or thighs. Move the buttocks from the midline, the horizontal midline of the buttocks. Move that whole fleshy area toward the front body, but then compact your front thighs right below that area toward the back thighs. Keep those back thighs spreading outward, but not continuing on. Contain the outer hips, squeeze them in. Inner knees roll back, outer knees squeeze in. So much of this pose is in the legs. So much of our forward bends are in the legs. Okay, so we'll release the pose. We are coming back to the floor, but we're going to be sitting. And we're going to start with Marichiasana. And I invite you to take maybe a little more height than you do with other seated poses. You may recognize that it's not what you need, but I do find for myself that a little more height in this pose is useful. So I'm going to take 2 blankets. Also have your strap within reach. Okay, and you're going to sit on your little perch that you've created. Right with the sitting bones directly to the edge of the blanket. So you're not sitting on it like a platform. You're kind of more working with the blankets like a wedge. We're going to bring our right leg in to the body. So this is going to remind you of when we were on our backs, we started with the Marichiasana. You want to have the thigh nice and close to the chest, but we don't want to feel all bunched up in the right hip. So roll the outer right hip toward the floor. Good. And then supercharge your left leg. You're going to try to squeeze the back of the knee toward the floor. Roll the inner left knee down. Press out through the heel. And now we're going to reach up with our right arm. Yep. And your left hand is directly behind you. Yep. And you're turning your chest. You're turning your torso to the left. You're extending fully up through your right arm. You're going to sense that your right knee wants to float out wide. Bring some weight to your right big toe ball mound. So your knee tracks in. Keep extending up, up, up. Use that to lengthen the whole side of the trunk. More. Reach up, up, up. Straighten the right arm. On the exhale, drop your right arm inside the right knee. So you have a bent arm. And now resist your arm and leg together. Keep turning the torso. Keep turning, keep turning, keep turning. And now you're going to see if you can slide your arm down. You're angling your torso down so that you get your knee more connected to your shoulder. Yep. Now, for some of us, there's a possibility to connect our hands. You're going to take your whole right forearm and turn that forearm away from your front body. So you might look here. You're gonna straighten the arm. So now your palm faces to the right. Exactly. Keep sliding down so your shoulder and your knee connect. And now see about taking that right arm and connecting your hands behind you. And if that's not gonna work, you have your strap. You got it, Judy. If it's not going to work, you have your strap. You're going to make the connection between your hands holding your strap. You're still continuing to squeeze your right knee in. You're still continuing to press your left leg to the floor. And you're trying to reach your sternum to look up at the ceiling. Find the extension in the thoracic spine. Use your shoulder blades. Use the anchoring of your legs to give you some leverage. Turn, turn, turn. And now this turning has prepared us well to forward bend over the left leg. So inhale, you're going to release out of that deep, deep pose. You're going to come out of it, and you're going to take hold of the bottom of the left foot with your strap. So just like we did before in Padangusthasana, we're going to start with our straightest leg and our straight arms, and our hands are wrapped. You're going to squeeze some weight back to your right big toe ball mound so your knee isn't flopping out to the side. So contain the outer hip, the outer knee. Okay, inhale here, sit up tall. Exhale, lead with your sternum, come forward, concave lumbar. Look forward, you're not looking down ever. Not today. Look forward, look forward, look forward. Keep squeezing the back of the left knee toward the floor. And now let your elbows widen. You might have to come up over that right knee. Come closer any amount without rounding the back. You may be able to grab your foot directly and do that. You may be able to close in on the foot on the strap. So come to your edge. Don't be somewhere that's easier than your edge. Be right at your edge. And then let go of the strap or the foot. Inhale, raise the arms, come up. And exhale, release the arms. Nice work. Extend your right leg. Join your legs, join your feet. Bring your fingertips right behind your buttocks. And then try to anchor down toward the heels. Your fingertips are right facing your buttocks. Yes. Squeeze the elbows in. Squeeze the backs of the legs to the floor. Your fingertips should be right on the buttocks, not behind, not far away. Remember not to poof the belly or shorten the low back. And then we'll draw the left knee in. Nice and close, but try to roll that bunchiness that happens when we bend the leg. Try to cut the outer left hip down and re-elongate the sides of the trunk so they're even. Okay, so now we have our right hand directly behind us. If you're kind of out of blanket, you could put a block right there so you have a surface. So we don't want to lean down to have to touch the floor. So your right hand is directly behind you. Raise the left arm straight up. And use your arm to pull up on the latissimus dorsi, the back body here. You're going to lift everything up, lift it up using the arm. And then turning, start to bend that left elbow and drop the arm inside the left knee. Squeeze your knee to the arm to keep containment in the outer knee, outer hip. Turning here, turning with the spine just upright. Deep, deep breaths. Keep squeezing right leg against the floor. And now see about sliding down so your shoulder and your knee connect, or more closely to the shoulder and the knee. Continue to turn. Bring the knee to the shoulder to the knee. Use that to help you turn, point your sternum up to the ceiling. And now see about extending the arm and turning your palm to face to the left, lengthening out any amount more, and then maybe you can wrap the arm and connect the hands. If not, you're going to join with a strap. You're going to use this bind to help you bring enough containment to that wild left side to turn your chest to the left, or right, I'm sorry. When we twist deeply, we bring more depth to our head-on forward bends. So this is a great preparation for Marichiasana 1, where we bow over the leg. Turning more here, last exhale. On your inhale, release that big old pose and come back up. Good work. And now take your strap or grab your foot directly. Some of us can do that. And find the bottom of the right foot right under the ball mounds. So now you're as close to your strap you're as close to your foot as you can be, but you're pulling back on your strap or your foot to help move the chest forward to find the extension in the thoracic spine. Squeeze that left knee to your left arm. Straighten your right leg. Notice how the inner right knee wants to lift up. Roll it down. Roll your inner right thigh down. Squeeze the outer hip in, squeeze the outer knee in. Now, as close to your foot as you can be, you're going to start to bend and broaden the elbows, but you're still working with concave or flat lumbar. You're still looking forward and you're trying to rebalance the evenness to the sides of the torso, which probably became a little bit distorted. So you have to roll your outer left hip down. Remember the line of energy from your hip crest to your armpit. Pull yourself deeper. Straighten the leg. Lead with your sternum. Sternum should be the foremost part of your front body. Sternum. Dip it low. Last 2 exhales. And then after that second one, you can let go of the foot or the strap. Raise the arms up. And then release the arms down. And extend your leg. Join your legs, join your feet. Put your fingertips right behind your buttocks. Squeeze the elbows closer together. Feel how it broadens the shoulder girdle. Adjust the skull right above the spine. Using the scapula as scaffolding for the sternum without distorting the lumbar, the abdomen. Okay, so now we're going to come into Pashimo Tanasana, the Western facing forward bend. And so we want to just drop out of the height we're on. So more like one blanket. If there's potential for the head to rest, you might place an assembly of props, some sort of combination of props that will give your head some support. But we're going to take the feet hip distance and we're going to re-spread the flesh out from under the sitting bones. We want to invite that broadness. This is one of our deeper forward bends. So we want to invite the broadness between the sitting bones. Inner thighs roll down, inner knees roll down, squeezing the backs of the knees to the floor and holding the outer hips and outer knees in. Okay, so you're going to work with your strap, taking both feet with the strap right under the ball mounds. And with the strap, you can see how the big toe ball mounds aren't as close for most of us as the small toes. So really rolling those big toe ball mounds away from the trunk and reaching out through the heels. Okay, so be as close to your feet as you can. You're starting with straight arms. Wrap the hands and tilting the pelvic bowl forward, moving your long arm bones into your shoulders. Keep your chest forward. Keep looking forward. And now we're going to go deeper. You're going to get as close to the feet as you can. If you can grab your feet directly, all 10 fingers are under the feet. Okay, so that's the position. Big in-breath. Let the elbows lift and broaden. And then if the head does rest on something, let the head finally rest. You're going to stay another minute So this is the one full forward bend we're doing today, and hopefully all these kind of things we've done to lead up to this have informed a really nice openness across the chest, spacious feeling between the sitting bones, spacious feeling across the sacral band. Remember to keep the effort of the inner thighs rolling down, the inner knees rolling down, reaching out through the heels, reaching out through the big toe ball mounds. And if the legs move from heels to hips, let that cascade so that the torso and skull can keep flowing in that same direction. Use your arms to pull the torso and skull closer to the legs. And you're going to start to lift your head and come all the way up. Move your strap aside, move your anything aside. You're going to shift forward off of your sitting blanket. And because that is such a deep forward bend, we need to rebalance the back a little bit. So we're going to do a modified back bend, Purvo Tanasana. So the full version, we work with straight legs, but today we're going to do modified because we don't want to come into an extreme back bend after an extreme forward bend. It's just never a good thing. So we want to do a mild back bend here. So your feet start on the floor, your knees will be bent. You're going to take your hands and turn them just like we've been doing a lot today. So your fingers point back at you and the heels of the hands are behind the fingers. Your arms should be at an angle because when you lift up, your shoulders will move and align above the wrists. So you kind of eventually figure that sweet spot out. When you lift your hips, the arms will be like pillars, they'll be vertical. So let's take a big inhale here. And on the exhale, stepping into your feet, pressing into your hands, lift your hips and take the tailbone up toward the ceiling. Now we have to resist gravity to bring the shoulder blades in toward the chest. Good, go ahead and sit down. Walk or slide the heels in, wrap your arms around your legs, and just sit up tall. Sit up tall. You don't want to round again, because you're trying to offset some of that. So sit up tall, right on your sitting bones, and look forward. Because we're going to do it one more time. So we want to have a little refreshing moment here. And then come back to your starting position. Your feet, your toes should be right in front of your heels. Heels are hip distance. Fingers are pointing toward your body. Heels of the hands are directly behind fingertips. Bring some weight down into your hands. On an exhale, lift the hips. Take the tailbone toward the ceiling. Keep rolling your inner thighs down. Good. And then have a seat. Bring the heels in. Wrap your arms around your legs. And just bring your thighs and chest close together. Be perched right over the sitting bones. Okay, so we're going to do a little bit more with restoring some balance back to the back. So we're going to do a resting bridge on a block. So you can grab your block. Come onto your back first with no props, and then lift your hips and take either a low or the medium height of your block to your sacrum, crossing the spine. So the horizontal block, and then position your feet so that your knees are right over your ankles. Your toes are right in front of your heels, and your feet are slightly wider than your hips. Unfold the arms so your palms are turned up. Rock your head until the neck comes closer to the floor. And then just let everything surrender. And we'll just take it a step farther, not a whole lot of effort will change here, but you're going to extend your legs one at a time and be on the heels, extending each leg beyond the heels, flexing the feet so that you're reaching out strongly through the heels, your toes are above your heels. Roll your inner knees down. Pressurize your heels, which will encourage your tailbone to move into the body toward the ceiling. Keep your chin close to your chest. Reaching out through the heels, reaching out through the big toe ball mounds, driving the inner knees and thighs down, following that spiral, broadening the backs of your thighs, but then squeezing the hips in, squeezing the knees slightly in. And we'll step the feet back to the floor. Lift your hips up to move your block away. And then stepping the feet wide, bring your hands to your belly. Let both knees roll to the right and your head to the left, and just hold here for a couple breaths. Start to roll toward the back of the head. Start to bring the knees to center. Continue on with the knees floating over to the left, and continue on with your head rolling to the right. And just a few more breaths there. And then come back to center. And you're going to find Shavasana. Make sure to take any final movements that you need. Make sure to gather any props you need. We'll have a 3-minute Shavasana. Once you've placed yourself on the floor, give the feet ample spacing. So feet should be wider than hips. We're going to let go of all of those wise actions, all of the effort in the legs. So you might feel that your feet are rolling out from the big toes toward the small toes. And just start to tap into the weight of the body meeting the floor. There's a layer of resistance sometimes. Let your body sink into the floor. Every exhale, it's like a repeating invitation to surrender your own weight, to be held, to let go of tension, to let go of all the restraints that we put on the body with this practice of asana. Every inhale, reclaiming your space. And watching yourself from a distance here, the various aspects of breath and body and mind, energy, sensation. Feeling the residue of awareness that the practice has created, that it has allowed. Watching the body breathe on its own. You're always welcome to stay longer. If you'd like to start to leave the pose, just bring a little bit of gentle movement back into the body, maybe deepen the breaths. As you're ready, bending knees and elbows. Gently carrying your weight to one side. Taking the hands to the floor and pressing down firmly, help to bring yourself up to seated. Feeling the length of the back body, the length of the sides of the torso, and the assistance of the shoulder blades lifting and spreading the chest. You can just join your hands right there in front of the heart. Taking a few moments to acknowledge the effects of this practice. So just bask a little longer in the quietness that lingers. Let's take a deep breath in through the nose and let it go. In the place within me that I know to be divine, I honor that place within each of you. Namaste. Right. Awesome job, everyone. Thanks for being here. And I'll see you next week for backbends.